I will always get a kick out of Shield Media running and rushing to the defense of something that is bad, normally because of box checking. But it's not always the case. Some things, they just have a lot riding on it. Maybe it's emotional, psychological, I don't know. It's just they have some connection to some form of media. And God forbid it doesn't succeed. Now, we've covered Blood Origin in that whole situation. How they used their own account, Witcher Netflix account, to promote the film or the show. And one of the things that they were leading with, and one of the top 10 things that they mentioned were gay dudes kissing in the mouth. Because that's apparently what Witcher fans want to see. However, despite that, Kotaku, Shield Media, it's a funny title. Nobody, critics or fans, seems to like the new Netflix Witcher spinoff. So Shield Media, even the critics, who listens to critics, they're really only used at this point as a metric to, it's not that people care about what it is that they think, but there's always an angle that you can take from, and it's from what it is that they say about like a film. Okay. Whether it be collectively, individually, or whatnot, it's not that people actually take their word for gospel. I don't think they ever have, but certainly nowadays, because you can find some guy in their bedroom that'll record. So it's just fun, and it's become part of the critic to the like new way of reviewing stuff and talking about the landscape is to critique the critics, right? It's kind of all we do now. But check this out. Newest installment of Netflix growing Witcher franchise, The Witcher Blood Origin, was recently released to a resounding meh from critics. But the fan response is even worse. Says the low scores are the result of different factors related to the show, the original books, and former Superman actor Henry Cavill. The Witcher Blood Origin is a limited series set within the same universe as Netflix's main Witcher show, and both are based on the original series of novels, loosely maybe, but I guess you can say that. However, Blood Origin is set it says over on movie review aggregation website Rotten Tomatoes, Blood Origin sports a 36% approval rating among critics, and even worse 8% approval rating from the fans. While critics' original shows, it's the historically low 8% audience rating. So it's basically the worst of the worst. Some fans are review bombing the series for a few different reasons. They talk about Henry Cavill's exit at being one of those. Others are the Witcher fans who continue to be frustrated with Netflix's handling of the original source material. You're going to continue to have this be the case, not just with Netflix. It's not exclusive to Netflix. Other studios that depict films or make films and TV shows that are based on things that have already existed are going to run into this problem. You can't just keep feeding them dog crap. It's just not how it works, right? Just as simple as depict what already exists. The layout, the blueprint's been made for you, but these cocky, arrogant these folks that worked on a Witcher franchise, this film didn't seem to even like it on it. The review bombing thing, though, is what we're seeing yet another version of. And it's like, well, people can't genuinely just dislike it, right? Like the people that may not like it, it's like, well, it's just we must delegitimize the approach. You guys just review bomb. You didn't like the fact that Henry Cavill's kind of walking away from the project, and even though this is set thousands of years before, you just are review bombing. It's like, man, dude, maybe people have legitimate gripes and just don't like this stuff, man. Review bombing is just a way to say that it's to wipe away the criticism of it, to say that they are review bombing, because really the only people that are gonna be what they doing as what they deem as review bombing, a lot of these coming from verified watchers and audience members that show genuine interest. Yes, there's going to be the outliers that had no interest and just wanted to talk down on it just to talk down on it. Yeah, that exists. I'm not saying that there aren't people that do that, of course. But to just thing that happens that's or is said about something that's bad or seen in a negative light is review. And it's just perfect, and they don't say much about it. That's never a review bomb. You can't review bomb it in positivity. You can only review bomb it in negativity. In other words, saying that the bad stuff is the one that ain't really legitimate. They have ulterior motives, as if critics don't have those already. There was another article that spoke about this. Was the whole review bombing thing is just the audience doesn't like it. It's being review bombed. You saw this with the Ms. Marvel show. Now, the difference between this one is that the critics couldn't save this one. The critics even said, all right, bro, it's pretty kind of diametric opposition. It's like on the opposite end of the spectrum. You have the shield media. They're like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. And then the other side is saying, the audience is saying, oh, this isn't that good at all. Whereas this one, they're both saying it. So they can't even save this. It's just what it is. It's maybe not that good. It's maybe not that interesting. But what I don't like about this type of stuff is that, well, they shield media like otakus, like the Kotakus of the world. Well, it's more legitimate because the critics are saying it, as if when the audience says that it's just review bombing, but, well, now they're saying it bad, so it must actually be bad. It's not bad when you guys say it is, and the critics say it isn't. I think these professional critics, for the most part, should be delegitimized. You're not necessary anymore. Your early access is what you depend on. And yeah, there's critics out there that some of them are still doing decent work. But for the most part, it's not, nobody's listening to you for your position on this and that they value, right? Not the general audience. Maybe your colleagues, of course. But the general audience don't really care what you got to say about things. They're going to feel about it the way they feel about it. And I think that's one of the bigger cultural changes that we've had. And not to say that, again, people just clung to the words of the critics. It's just nowadays when people on YouTube, for example, that they're not professional critics by any means. They're just audience members. People find it more authentic, actual fans of the work, actual fans of the craft. They look at it and they view it in a certain lens, and those people are going to be listened to more often. You're not just seeing this with movies, you're seeing this with games for this one, but it's especially bad. Wherever you're viewing the content, I appreciate you. If you enjoyed it, you may be interested in my comic book company, Rippaverse Comics. Our first book and campaign, ISOM #1, brought in $3.7 million with tens of thousands of satisfied customers. Visit Rippaverse.com to check out our store and stay up to date with the latest campaigns from one of the hottest new comic book companies. Also, my first big step towards a parallel economy was the development of my personal website, ericdjuly.com. This entirely replaced my Patreon. Now, if you enjoy this content, please consider becoming a member over at the website. We have an ever-expanding list of perks for various membership tiers, a forum, and a phone app. Some of these perks will even benefit you if you're fans of the Rippaverse. And even got a little love for my haters.